Yo, what is up, guys? Today I'm bringing you another new video. And where I'm at right now is I'm at the grocery store to pick up some chicken. So let me tell you a story. I woke up this morning. It's just a normal morning. And then it all went terrible because I went to look in my refrigerator and the worst situation ever happened. I had no chicken. No chicken. Zero chicken. Let me tell you about chicken. Chicken is the most accessible and the best source of protein that you can get. There's nothing better than just some nice chicken. It goes with everything. It tastes good. It's got loads of protein. It's all good. All right. So, basically an emergency. If you wake up in the morning and your refrigerator doesn't have chicken in it, at least two. Now, of course, I had frozen chicken, but that wasn't the kind of chicken I was looking for. If you don't have at least 2 to 3 types of chicken in your refrigerator, you have a serious problem in your life and you need to get it fixed. Anyways, now, what we're focused on today is number one. Number one, motivation is not real. And this is something I've been thinking about a little bit recently. Motivation has been invented for you to hope that something will eventually pop into your life. Okay, this idea of motivation is that I will do something and then eventually I will get to a point where I'm motivated to do it, where I suddenly want to do it. And that's just not the case, okay? What happens when you get in this situation where you're thinking about motivation, where you're looking for this motivation, is you start to wait. You end up in a spot where you're like, something's suddenly just going to click. Nothing's just going to click suddenly. It doesn't happen like that. You don't wake up one day and suddenly you're super motivated to do something. What you have to do, what you have to recognize is that you can't just get motivated and then suddenly go out and do something terrific, spectacular, something that you've been wanting to do or you've been trying to do for a super long time. It's never going to happen like that. You're never going to wake up and just feel motivated. Because if you were, then why haven't you already? Why haven't you already woken up and felt motivated? What's the difference between today and tomorrow, between you feeling motivated and not feeling motivated? What's the difference? There is no difference, okay? You're going to wake up feeling exactly the same the next day. So what actually happens when you get to this point of motivation, and it's not motivation, okay? Eventually, one day, you wake up and you have drive. And it's two different things. Motivation is that you tell yourself certain things and you want to feel a certain way and you want to just suddenly wake up and feel that way. No. What happens is that emotionally, you get to a point, there's a tipping point where you get to a point where it is just drive, okay? And real drive doesn't feel like motivation. If any of you have ever felt real drive, it is because you are not thinking about being motivated. You don't have to convince yourself to be motivated, to go out and do this thing, okay? You don't have to think about any of that stuff. What you do have to end up thinking about is that you have to do stuff now. There are actions that you have to take, and that is drive, okay? You never just convince yourself. That doesn't happen. Drive is a thing where you emotionally get to a point, a tipping point, where you just take some sort of action. There is no convincing yourself. There's none of this, there's none of that, okay? And drive comes up when you finally just forget who you are. You don't think about who I am and this and that. You don't think about all these different things that you do with motivation. With motivation, you're trying to, because I've been in this situation before. I've been in the situation where I'm trying to do something, I want to do something, now I got out of it. But I was trying to do something and I was looking to get motivated. And I kept trying to convince myself over and over that, I was this type of person, or I had to do this, or I had to think this way. And what ended up happening was nothing, because I just tried to convince myself. And that was the wrong thing to do. I shouldn't have been trying to convince myself. What I should have been trying to do is sit with the thing long enough that I get so emotionally attached to it that eventually it just becomes part of you. Because then when you get to a point of true drive, you don't think about how you feel. You don't think about how it fits into your life, because it goes the other way. It goes, you fit into it, which sounds odd, but you start recognizing that you're not the center of the world. You're not the center of this. If you want to get something done, if you want to get this big project done, or you want to get this big accomplishment or this big goal done, you have to dedicate yourself to it, not it fits into your life. It's the other way. You fit into it. It doesn't fit into you. And once you recognize that, you just forget about all the stuff that you were trying to say. Oh, I'm motivated. I need to go do this. I need to go do that. Okay? So you and at that point where you do actually feel that drive, there comes a moment where you would actually, from personal experience, that you would start to like feel some sort of mental torture, mental self-torture of, I would give up anything to just get this thing. Okay. And that's the kind of drive that you want, because that's the kind of drive that's going to get you there. That's the kind of drive that you need in order to compete against everyone else who wants the same thing as you. If the thing you're going after is genuinely valuable enough, genuinely, and it has some sort of status value or whatever it has, other people are also going to want it. And I guarantee that. And if you're going to get it, or you're going to get it better than other people, or you want to even just get it in the first place, you're going to have some sort of drive that is so remarkable, that is genuinely, that you would give up anything in order to go get it. You need to have that level of drive. Okay? So don't rely on motivation. Motivation is this thing that's been invented. And the crazy thing is that these two words get confused a lot. This motivation, this drive, they get confused because they might feel the same or whatever, or people label them as the same, but it's not the same feeling. Motivation is that you should go do something, and so you try to convince yourself to go do it, and it doesn't work. Drive is when you have to do something because you don't give yourself another choice. When you are just at the point of, I will give up anything for this. And it's not, and to some extent, it almost sounds like a decision that you make, but I don't think it is a decision that you make, because you're not making the decisions when you give up, when you give it up for something, okay? I might be able to put this in a better example for you. If you were to give up, maybe you guys are religious, or maybe you have someone, a wife, or maybe you're close to someone, like romantically, whatever. If you were to give up the decision making for that person, as in I would do anything for that person, that is where you reach a level of drive, and you truly would. So if you gave up anything for that person, if you gave up anything for that religion, and you would do anything for it, that is a point of drive, okay? You're not thinking, how does this fit into my life? You're thinking, I would do anything for this. That is how you get to drive. And when you finally find drive, when you finally get to the point of feeling loads and loads of drive, emotionally, mentally, whatever, you get super successful in that area because you finally have what it takes to do more than anyone else would do. Okay? So find a way to have lots of drive. Next. So there is a golden reason in everything that you do. And this goes with motivation and drive, okay? You always try to find this one reason for doing something. And what happens is I call it the golden reason. We all have this like one reason that we really want to get something done. Now, maybe you want to get in shape. Maybe you want to go to the gym and get healthy. And there's a reason in there. And it could be, I want to get super healthy, or I want to be, someone who's successful and that requires being in shape, or I want to get super strong, or I want to look super good, or I want to have more options. Now, these are all examples of things that happen when you go to the gym. You get all of these benefits when you go to the gym. But there's one reason specifically that stands out for you. And it could be any reason. And this is the golden reason. And you may be in a situation where you keep trying to use that to motivate you to do something. But the golden reason isn't actually the motivator or the driver. It doesn't create motivation. It doesn't create drive. What it does is it creates a reminder of why you are doing this thing. And so if you're looking at your golden reason for why you should keep going, if you're sitting there thinking about this over and over, that you should do it for this reason or that reason, you're not going to find the answer you're looking for there, because that will not give you drive. That will give you motivation. It won't give you drive though. You have to be willing to give up anything if you want to get to the point of drive. Okay? But it is a good reminder, especially when you're going down the path. When you're going down the path and you need a reason to keep going, you can look at your golden reason. I'm doing this because of this. This sucks, but I'm going to get this when I get there. That's your golden reason, and that's what it does. It's not there to drive you to ultimate success or whatever. Okay? Next. Your reason does not, so we just said that it doesn't drive you. It doesn't get you the drive that you need. It only gets you to the point of like some motivation. And once you get to that point of drive and you've gone through your reason and you understand what you're going for and your ultimate goal and everything, what really happens is that you start to question who you would be if you turned around now. In your mind, your self-identity is so tied to this driver, this specific goal, that you can't even imagine who you would be if you quit now. That is when you know you're at the point of drive. And it's not a decision. Again, it's not a decision. You can't just decide, this is my self-identity. This specific thing, this specific goal is who I am. It doesn't work like that. It becomes a point, there comes a point when it is an emotional thing that happens to you. And I'm not saying emotional like you start to get feelings for it, but what happens is you're at a point where you can't turn around. And that's what ties it to your self-identity. If you are a religious person, I hope you are in some extent, in any extent. If you are a religious person, that religion is tied to your self-identity. If you are willing to give up anything for it, then that is part of you and you would ascribe that as part of you. That being said, it is no different when you go into something and you genuinely want to pursue it as hard as you can. It becomes part of your self-identity. Okay? So find that point of drive. It's not something that can just easily be frameworked in front of you. It's not something where I could just tell you what to do and it shows up in your life. It just doesn't work like that. You have to get to the point of you would do anything for it. That is what flips the switch. Next. So the pain of knowing, and this is like a sequence. Okay, so this is kind of the steps that it goes down when you're trying to find this drive, when you're trying to get in a situation where you just want all the drive that you can possibly have to get to the goal. So what happens is that the pain of knowing that you did not try or that you did turn around actually feels worse than anything you can imagine. The fantasy of thinking about turning around or going somewhere else starts to hurt, starts to feel so bad. And that is the point of no return. But you're at the point of no return in a good way because you're going after your goal. You're going after the thing that is important to you, the thing that you set out for to begin with. And so once you're down that path and you think about turning around and it genuinely becomes painful to you, when you genuinely start to think this would suck if I were to turn around or I would have quit or were to give up now, it would be worse than death or something. So if you get to that point, you know, and honestly, it hurts. It hurts to get to that point. It doesn't feel good when you recognize that if you were to do something else than what you're currently trying to do, if you're trying to give up if you're giving up other parts of your life for something that you want to pursue, that genuinely hurts. That genuinely feels painful because there are no other choices. But the reward that you get is that you don't want to stop going after your own goal. You are so driven towards your own goal that you would do anything for it. And that is exactly what you need to become super successful in any area of your life. To just have a level of drive, a level of persistence towards the goal that you set out for. Okay, so try to find that drive. Try to find that situation where you are in some sort of drive. And if you don't know what to do, just take a step towards it. Even if you're stuck in a motivation loop. Okay, because you're never going to be able to get to drive if you don't have this motivation situation first, where you're trying to convince yourself to do things and this and that. You're never just going to wake up and suddenly have immense amounts of drive. There is all of the beforehand of feeling motivation and trying to convince yourself and this and that. That is part of the process. But the motivation is just not the answer. It's more like the prelude to the answer, which is that you need drive, which is that you need to finally be in that situation where you are just so driven towards your goal that you would give up and do anything for it so you can be successful in that area. Okay? Next. And this is the last point. So once you get to that point, you don't care as much anymore. You don't care. If it would make you feel terrible, you don't care. If you woke up and you felt sleepy and miserable and whatever, you just don't care. There's something about it. There's some point that you can get to where you just feel loads and loads of drive and it ignites. It ignites you. It flips the switch and you just go, and it goes from this thing of, I used to understand this. When I was in the situation where I was stuck in the motivation loop, where I was just stuck, and I would sit there and I would try to convince myself over and over that I just need to be more motivated. I just need to go after this thing. I just need to do this thing. What would happen is that I was looking down at it. I would look down and I would try to see my goal and then I would try to go towards it. Now what happens when you get to that point of drive and I say flip this switch is that you look up at it. You look up at what you need to do and you start moving towards it rather than trying to pull it towards you by convincing yourself that you need to go do it and this and that, which is the motivation loop. It starts to go the other way and you start to move towards it. And you might even be thinking, I'm in this motivation loop, but I am doing things towards it. I am trying it, or I am persisting towards it. And that's what's happening physically. That's happening around you. You're trying to get towards it by doing the thing or whatever. But the point of going from being motivated to being driven towards it are two different things. Mentally, it is two different situations.